I've talked to other coaches, so I'll just kind of give you the feeling from some other coaches that, they don't want to be in it. The risk to get a bye, the reward to get a bye versus the risk to get knocked out completely. I mean, that's a really big risk, just to get a bye. So I think it's ended up being a very unique situation of all, postseason sports, the way that system's set up there, and how you could go to that and get knocked out, and if you don't go, you're in.
All right, that's the word on the street, according to Lane Kiffin. Here he is, the mouth of the South, Paul Finebaum. Paul, top of the morning to you, maybe the afternoon. Tell me your thoughts on what Lane Kiffin was just saying, sir.
I believe Lane Kiffin is right, Molly, and in his case in particular, if they end up going with a 10-2 record and lose the SEC game, they will likely almost automatically be out. These are big games. They produce a lot of money for the community, for the conference, and obviously for the television partner, which in this case is ABC. But almost every school there that we're looking at has nothing to gain. Texas could end up there, let's say, with an 11-1 record. They could win the game, and it really would. They'll still be in the playoff, but they'll have used a lot of energy. Kiffin said it best: you get a bye, which has some value. Just like in the NFL with the first-round bye, but the risk for most of the schools, if you have a 10-2 record, could very well cost. I talked to Greg Sankey the other day, the SEC commissioner. He said it should be a reward, but Stephen A., remember last year what happened to Georgia? They had an undefeated record in the regular season. They went to the game, lost. They were gone.
You're right. Go ahead, Shannon.
You're absolutely right, Paul. That was going to be where I alluded to. You look at Georgia and Alabama. Alabama had really no chance but to win that game. Georgia, had they not played that game, was going to be the #1 seed. They go, they play. Alabama beats them. Alabama goes. They get and Georgia gets knocked out. And so that's kind of what happens. Now, a couple of years ago, Alabama beat Georgia, and Georgia still got an opportunity to go. But you're right, Paul. One of these teams that have 2 losses, you lose your championship game, you're not going to the college football playoff, which is very, very unfortunate. And the question is, what are the commissioners, what are these Power 5, Power 4 commissioners going to do, Paul? Are they going to say, look, we've got to reward teams for going to the conference championship, and we can't punish them because teams are going to be like, man, I don't even want to win my conference championship because there's a chance. Go to it because there's a chance I might get knocked out.
Well, first of all, Shannon, you're absolutely right, and Paul Finebaum is absolutely right as well. I don't blame Lane Kiffin for feeling exactly the way that he feels. Let's take this into consideration just to crystallize it for our audience. Down the pike, we've got Texas going up against #3 Texas, going up against #15 Texas A&M. All right? Texas A&M is 8-2 on the season, okay? If Texas beats A&M, that's an easier scenario because they automatically will be out because Texas A&M will have 3 losses on the season. We can surmise that, right, fellas? Okay? But what if Texas A&M would have beat Texas? Then what do you have? You got about 6 teams potentially all finishing 10-2 in the SEC. And there's no way in hell that you're going to put 6 teams from the SEC into the playoffs, which means at the very least, 2 of them are going to miss out, okay? And so when I look at it from that standpoint, listen, if you want to make it easy, right now, based off of what Lane Kiffin has said, Texas needs to beat Texas A&M. That'll give Texas A&M 3 losses. And then the likelihood is that they end up in the SEC title game against, say, Alabama. And if they beat Alabama as well, then what you would have is a situation where Alabama has 3 losses and you could justify, moving them out. And then it's far easier. But it doesn't negate the point that Lane Kiffin made.
Yeah.
That's not the issue right now. The issue is the possibility that all of these teams could be deserving of being in the playoffs, and playing an SEC title game is a risk. And yes, it's good money for the locals, but what's the money, Paul, compared to what a berth in the college football playoff and potentially a national championship could bring? That's the whole point, which means that the future of conference title games, Molly, is in jeopardy.
Yes.
Yeah, so
it's in jeopardy.
So Paul, basically what we're saying, are conference championship games like even important anymore?
I don't think they're going to be in the next contract. Just as a reminder, this deal is for one more year after this, and then it goes back to the drawing board. And what I think is going to happen is that the Big Ten and the SEC essentially could tell the rest of college football to get lost. I think they're going to go in there and demand automatic bids, like perhaps as many as 4. I think that would be the end of the conference championship game, and you just you add another game or two and add 4 more teams. They're great celebrations, Stephen A. I remember being with you on the sidelines in Atlanta a couple of years ago, but at this point, they have outlived their usefulness.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way around that, guys.
You know what, guys? It's kind of
Go ahead, Shannon. Go ahead, Shannon.
Go ahead, Stephen A. Go ahead and finish your point.
I'm just looking at it from this standpoint. We got to be real about it. We cared about the conference championship game because there was no 12-team playoff. And so as a result of that, it meant more. But now that you've extended it to 12 games, 12 teams, hey, Shannon and Paul, I'm ready to say this. I don't think the 12-team playoff is going to last for so long. I think you're going to see people clamoring for a 16-team playoff. I think that's inevitable. Okay? And by the way, it's going to make all the sense in the world because there's more money to be made by the programs with more playoffs in existence. And the games will be meaningful because you don't need the bowl game because the playoff game will be win or go home.